Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All
No video.
right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
You're eating shit for chocolate? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, he asked what Amelia likes, and I like 70%. I like
The dark
I like
stuff.
mint. I'll do, the Ghirardelli. I like better stuff. I mean, not the Lint's, high end anymore necessarily, but I like better chocolate. Where Amelia doesn't like chocolate as a rule, pretty much anyway. And if she does, she gravitates like an Aero bar.
Really?
So she would keep
Aero
Wheeler
bar's not
happy, but and Wheeler would drop Aero bars off to the house once in a while because, good to keep Amelia on side because there's only so much damage I could do as a buyer. If my wife likes you, I'm kind of in a pickle, right?
I was going to say, because I ordered some of Sarah's chocolate. So we had Sarah Rasevich on a couple of episodes already. But her chocolate is...
I don't know if you listen to the podcast, Trev, but she's the one from Newfoundland who
she's an
left
ex-J&J,
Toronto.
moved from like J&J headquarters here in Toronto out to Newfoundland to a population of 50.
Literally.
and built herself a 4-chain built from scratch
Little chocolate empire.
So she's
Chocolate
selling
empire.
seal flipper chocolate and things like that.
She's and you know what? I've got a student in one of my classes that is like, she's based in Newfoundland and she lives in Newfoundland. She couldn't stop talking about her ice cream. Couldn't stop talking about it. Doesn't live
But she
anywhere
does ice
close
cream as
to-
well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So she moved to a 50-person town, but she doesn't live in town where there's nobody anyway. She lives on an island off the town.
Yeah, she had to make it really difficult.
She's an introverted chocolate maker.
Apparently. Although she did land on the main drag of town. I'm sure they get like 4 or 5 people a day on the main road. But
The George Street,
Yeah.
right next to all the
who
bars.
knows? Oh
Yeah.
my God. Honestly though, but what is a cool story because I don't know, it was kind of one of those ones, you come from large corporate and it sounds like she was crushing it. Like she's a very bright girl, obviously, or bright woman. And she goes to this, like, she's not even rinky dink. I mean, like 50 people.
Yeah.
50
That's the
people in
definition of
Newfoundland.
rinky dink.
I
There's
mean,
not
it's-
much more rinky dink than that.
I don't even know if it makes rinky dink.
I think it's below rinky dink is what.
I think so too. I
In
don't
the
think
scale
it
of size, rinky dink is
Rinky Dink
this
would
is the
be a
bottom.
little
Rinky Dink's
higher
one
than where
step
she's
above.
at.
maybe just rinky
But-
or dinky, right? Like,
And again, so you're in an industry too, like you come from the industry, like chocolate is not. It's typically more of a seasonal play. Yes, people eat chocolate all year, but it's typically a little more seasonal, more winter months, etc. Well, guess what month she was closed down for most of the beginning? She's closed winter months, right? She has a tourist business in the summer,
So she
and
doesn't
she
actually
still
sell-
made a go of it.
yeah,
She doesn't actually sell ice cream. She's just got her chocolate left out for everybody to come and grab, and it's frozen solid.
I think so.
Who the hell knows?
That's okay. That's
Anyway, she's got a great little business going. It was a really cool story. I really enjoyed talking to her. She was a lot of fun.
It probably took Kenny like 20 minutes to get over because I think the first 20 was
I
him
can
doing
understand.
that. You see that face? He's just going,
I
I don't
understand.
understand. I don't understand.
Okay.
Like, so the first 20 minutes is just him going, sorry, can we come back to this for a second? Like, how many people are there? Like,
I appreciate you pick location. You hit the main drag. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But there's nobody in this town. What's the
Yeah.
difference if you're on the main drag or not? It's the same.
It's me.
Half the population's boating in from an island. It's not even in town.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh my God. It was
Oh,
great.
man.
Great story though.
Oh, man, it was
Great story.
Yeah. Thanks for getting on today. This is great.
Yeah, my pleasure. Happy to
Well,
be
I
here.
had to steal him from another podcast, for Christ's
Well,
sake. Like, honestly, what the hell's going on in this world?
I don't know. He grabbed me first. It
Well,
was
I
a
think
serendipitous moment.
I've known you way longer than he has.
That's true. You did get mentioned though in that podcast.
Well,
I brought you
sure
up.
the hell hope so, for crying out loud. What the
Hey,
hell?
what are you on another podcast without me? What the hell's going on, man?
Well, I did a podcast first, then I found
Kenny gets around. He's from Trail, man. That's what
Hey,
happens.
we're the big-
Kenny's
hey, that's not Rinky Dink either, right? That was
That's-
way bigger than Rinky
that
Dink.
qualifies as rinky dink.
No, that was a step above Rinky Dink for sure.
Rusty
You're
dink. Anyway,
Rinky Dink plus.
we have that in common. I grew up in Trail too for 8 whole years. Now I have a superfluous third nipple.
What? Yeah. Thank God we're still alive. But we're definitely grounded because there's enough lead in us. We can't go anywhere except
Absolutely.
down.
That's why we're so heavy.
What years were you in trail?
1974 to 1981.
You're
My
how old
prime
are you?
years. I'm
How old are you
46. So I was little.
Yeah, you're way young.
I was there till
so
grade
you're,
2. Sunningdale
you're-
Elementary is proud of me.
That's hilarious. I think I took Amelia through Sunningdale for the first time last year. My mom and dad haven't lived in trail in 5 years. We went back to see somebody. And I think I finally took her through Sunningdale, which has gotten actually very cute. It was cute then, but trail's actually cleaned up a lot. It's actually kind of a sweet little town now.
It's I thought my address was 365 Hazelwood Drive for my entire life, and then I went on Google Earth one day to actually see where my house was, and I realized that I've had the wrong street name and the wrong number for like 43 years. So yeah, revisionist history.
Okay, you can do a podcast on that. I hear there's one out there called exactly that. It's all good.
It's really good, actually.
Exactly like that.
No, he's interesting too, right? I mean, I like that.
He's pretty interesting.
Well-researched guy.
Yeah.
I was expecting your theme song to be that Journey song, but the Life Under the Big Top. I can't remember the name of the actual song, but This Business Life, something like that.
Yeah. That would be.
That's what I was expecting. I was
Phil's
expecting
our
you to be
Phil's
singing
our
a
tech guy.
cappella.
No, shit, buddy. These faces are only meant for this,
Meant
for
radio.
audio, and these voices are not meant for singing. Maybe his, definitely not mine. No.
Not mine either. Not
Kenny.
mine either.
We should sing a theme. I like this idea.
You can sing a theme song. What do you sing about?
Come on, it'd be great.
Okay, well, make it up, and then we'll look at it. I'm not going to promise shit. I mean, until I know what the hell we're singing, I'm not singing nothing.
I love it.
Listen, we got this far. I'm pretty happy we even do this. What are you kidding me? Come on.
I know.
I'm shy,
Constantly improving.
Shy's never been a word I've associated with you.
No, me neither. Mm-mm.
I can be a quasi-introvert-ish, I think.
When you don't want to talk to people.
Which lately's been a lot.
You bring me no value, so now I'm an introvert.
Oh, that doesn't sound nice at all. Oh my God, Trevor, I'm not that bad.
No, maybe not. Maybe
Not
that's an
that
unfair
bad.
comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little harsh. Maybe I don't want to talk to you this moment because you're providing no value, but not in general.
Oh my God. So
Anyway.
we have Trevor Baker on. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. Happy to be here for my second podcast.
Dick, you're on a tear, man. This is the second podcast this month.
Yeah, I'm an old hand now. I'm well practiced.
Oh my
I
God.
like it. This is amazing.
Still don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll do my best.
Well, you know what? Nor do we. I just felt really slighted that you weren't on our podcast first. So I didn't give a shit if you talked about anything. I just figured, he's got to be on ours too.
You're filling my heart with joy here because it makes me feel like I'm wanted by somebody. So this is
You
great.
are totally wanted. You were totally wanted. So I've known Trevor, I think it's got to be close to 20 years.
At least 2002-ish.
So 20 years, right? That's
Yeah.
20, right? What are we in? 2021? Yeah, about 20 years.
We'll round up.
We'll round up.
Yeah.
So I was his buyer for the first little bit. I don't think it was massively thrilling for him.
It was a bad first experience. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I just what was the line? Skin.
It was Edge and Skintimate shave gels. And,
So I discontinued those.
You discontinued them on my first call in. So I was actually going to say
that's not true. That's not the first call.
it was my first call. It's my first ever call.
No,
that was my
bullshit.
first Ken
Oh,
Venucci
fuck,
experience.
you're full of shit. That must have been the second or third
This is
call.
not a word of a lie.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
I almost feel a little bad.
I had to call my boss after that, and that was a really tough one. She's like, "God, Kenny, he's you treat him well." I edited the last part for you.
Yeah, it's okay. I assume that anyway.
I don't know what
But
the
we still
CRTC
talk to
allows
each
on
other.
these things. So
We still talked.
do.
We
Well,
still talked all through that time, even while you were still in building. Then you left for a little sabbatical or whatever the hell you did. Then you came back on the drug side with Roche. No,
Yeah, with Roche, called
with
on Rama.
Roche. So then we got to see each other down at the pharmacy conferences, et cetera, because I was still buying OTC and vitamins.
Yep,
And then
Tilly
we kept
did-
in touch over the years through the Food Execs Club, et cetera.
Tilly kept me in close contact. I think she put us on the same boat for fishing one time, and you got some good pictures of dolphins doing backflips. And
Oh,
stuff.
we had some great. That was right. That's
That was a
right.
good day out.
That was actually a really good day out. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. That was right. That was with you. We got some wicked
We had
pictures of
some,
the dolphins.
I
that
think
day.
you had like dolphins doing the
Remember right
crossover.
beside, just right.
you know, it's like
right
the
by
Top Gun
props.
scene where they're
Oh, it
they're
was
inverted.
fantastic.
On a fishing
That's
trip?
right.
What were you drinking on the fishing trip?
I don't know. Usually a bottle of Bailey's was on a boat.
At least that. Yeah,
Probably
maybe
a
some
couple
other
bottles
stuff
of
too.
wine.
Look, it looks exactly like the one of the National Geographic when the.
That was fine. Yeah, whatever.
It's like this.
You know what? That's jealousy. That's all that is. You can't
Yeah,
hack the fact that we
100%
actually saw
jealous.
dolphins.
You're on
No,
a
we did.
fishing trip for work. and
Anyway,
you got to
in
see
our old
dolphins, like,
London drugs
100%.
days, we did those fishing trips. Then Trevor left the industry and started working with it was Macdonald. Was it Macdonald something at that time, or it was just
Yeah.
Macdonald?
Yeah, Macdonald Search Group.
Okay.
That was what it was.
Yeah.
You guys haven't added any extra names behind it, right? It's still Macdonald Search.
Just Macdonald Search Group. Yeah, we no other names added to the title anyways, but there's lots of names added to the roster. We've got almost 20 people across the country now. When I started, there was 3 of us. Yeah, so now we've got offices all the way out to Halifax and Moncton. Nothing for your ice cream lady though in Newfoundland. So we'll
There's
get there
a
one
town
day.
of 50 people.
They need a recruiter.
I hear there's land. There's room.
That's easy networking. I could cover that town in a day.
Exactly, and you get chocolate and ice cream from outside time of season.
Chocolate and ice cream.
Perfect.
So Trevor is on because I thought it'd be cool for people if you're looking to expand in your company, or even if you're just looking for maybe tips and tricks on networking, because the guy's brilliant at that as well. But I thought it'd be interesting, Trevor, just to talk about first who you are, what you do, and then where the conversation goes. But I do think it's pretty cool, the service you provide, and I think there's a lot of people who listen to us that are in that smaller side. They're not. There's lots of onesies and twosies, but there are those people in that 15, 20, 25 group who are now starting to think, you know what, we're going to hit the ceiling if we don't start grabbing people maybe potentially more qualified or have had other experiences. And that's definitively where you would come into the picture and provide that type of service. So I'll let you describe who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure to be here, guys. Yeah, I'm a problem solver is probably the best way to describe what I do. It's people have an experience with recruiting where it's kind of like, hey, I need to get this job filled. Who do you have? And it's kind of moving, one warm body into another position and fill in the role. But I kind of look at it a little bit differently in that there's companies out there that don't necessarily have an HR department or know what they need to solve in terms of hiring somebody, or even how to go about doing it. So I come in and figure out what it is they need and then help them to marshal the right individuals in that can solve the problem for them. So it's my favorite job that I've had out of all the jobs, calling on you included in that.
Less that, of course. Yeah.
That one, I will take that one out.
Yeah, that's nightmare.
It's a fun one because you get to be 30,000 feet on a whole lot of organizations as they go through their the development of their businesses and how they grow the organization and their sales and their people. And without good people in the companies, you can't truly grow the organization effectively. Right. So it's a lot of fun to just kind of take a look at everybody's situation and then help them to improve it by bringing in strategic resources wherever they need it.
Right bums, right seats.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you guys actually do it more on a consultative. It's almost like you guys a typical, I guess what probably most of us think as recruiters, what you sort of described is, you're looking for, I think most people think of a temp fill. Or if not that, it's, I have something, you're just going to go, you phone somebody, they got a list of 12 people. Okay, send me 3 candidates and we'll figure it out. Where you guys are actually really going at it a little more in depth. Like you're actually trying to figure out what works. Yeah,
you know how you get that one person in organizations who's kind of like the special projects person who gets all the stuff that nobody really truly understands how to do, and they go and they look for the special projects person. That person
like
kind
Phil.
of takes care of stuff. Yeah, like Phil over there. Yeah. So I'm that guy to a lot of companies. So people will call me up and ask me all kinds of crazy things about their business and how they can improve it. And the talent I guess I have is that I've got all these weird experiences from other people's companies that I can kind of bring in as case study examples to help figure things out. So moving people through organizations is definitely the biggest part of what I do, but the coaching organizations on how to be successful with those people once they get them is definitely the second thing that I do. And it's arguably the most fun part of it because you can see the tangible benefits of those individuals going into the organization, manifesting into something that makes them money or sells a product or provides a service. And it's pretty cool. So I've been involved in compensation plans, bonus plans, commission structures. I've done some, drafting up corporate, like all their HR protocols and things, and their just everything that makes the company run from an operational standpoint. It provided a lot of value in terms of putting that stuff together. And so that's all been on top of just getting good people into organizations. So that's Macdonald's sort of business model. Is you're not just in recruiting at all anymore. Like you're the profit model is recruiting. We only
Well,
make
for
money
sure.
on
I
that.
get that.
The other stuff is all part of the service offering that we
Right.
provide as
But
a
that also
consultant.
brings people back 12 times on the next 12 recruitments.
Exactly. Yeah.
So-
So everybody that works in our organization, this is different from most of the recruitment companies out there. Everybody in our organization comes from the industry that they recruit in. So we speak the same language. So if you ask
Interesting.
me about, if you want to talk about co-op spend and O&A, and you need somebody who can maximize that for Kenny's desk, then I can go and find a guy who's willing to turn out their pockets for you to get you what you need. And I understand the language of that, what the kind of
Right.
the things that need to be done and the language that needs to be spoken to find that kind of person and put those two people together. If you don't understand the language, you're not going to be able to communicate with the people you need to find. And that's when you just end up getting recruiters who post a job, they take whatever happens to come in, where they kind of recognize this guy might be okay, or that girl could be a right fit.
Yeah.
And they just pray that the right person goes into the mix and they get hired and they get their commission out of it, which is way too common. But that makes my competitive set pretty easy to compete with. So
I'm
provide
assuming the
a
other
lot extra
part
value.
really is the norm, where it's truly used as a, I phone you, fill a spot,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's all
absolutely
they're
the norm.
doing. They're not really.
Nothing more than that. And they want to be a part of that as little as possible. They're kind of like real estate agents. If they can
I
get
was
the
going to say
posting,
like real estate.
yeah, if they get the posting for the job, they can go out there and they can find a bunch of people and somebody's going to get the job if they can keep
Right.
it long enough to do it before the company does it themselves.
Yeah.
That's most recruiters' model. And that's really a low value added model, and it doesn't offer much reason to use it other than they just don't have the time or the capacity to do it themselves. So the real value comes into, hey, what can we do to help you make more money off of this particular hire? And
I think the other piece that you have can't be understated either. I've kind of played that role in lots of organizations I've been at, and I think I don't know, you tell me, but I feel like I was really hard on the organizations I work for because I love learning things and I love kind of being stuck in places where nobody wants them, but it means that I ask a lot of the organization too, is because after I learn a whole bunch of crap, I'm ready to move on. The organization's just catching up to like, hey, this guy can do all these different things. Like we should leave him where he is for a little bit longer. And I'm the kind of guy that literally goes, it's time. Like what, and it makes them crazy, right? Like I remember having this conversation with the director I reported to many, many years later. And he was like, you're such a pain in the ass, right? Because every time we'd move you to a spot, we'd expect you to be there like 18 months to learn the job. You'd do it in 9. And the other 9, you'd spend threatening us that you'd run away because you got bored of doing what you did, right? So I feel like finding people for these jobs is one challenge, and then 2 is teaching organizations how to keep them, right?
Absolutely. There used to be a lot more of a structure in organizations that they created a progression plan. And one of the things that you go through when you're a kid is you go through school and you got grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and you go all the way through the grades, and you hit university and you go through 4 years of that, then you might do a graduate degree or whatever. But there's a real clear delineation to what you go through as you continue that process. And you don't get that in your career unless you work with an organization that kind of sets up that structure.
Right.
And says, these are the competencies you got to demonstrate to go to that next level. And then you can kind of check them off. That used to be pretty common. And then it kind of disappeared. And it's particularly vanished on the West Coast here because you have so many jobs that are affiliated with a Toronto or Montreal head office or an American head office.
Right.
And there's just no infrastructure here for those individuals to move up through organizations. And you just saw this basic exodus of opportunity for consumer products professionals in this city to do that. So if you go into a role, they might want you to stick around for 5 or 6 years to just kind of take care of that role and become a subject matter expert in that one thing. So now you got this whole crop of millennials coming in who can't sit still for more than 5 minutes without wanting a new challenge thrown at them. And they aren't going to do that. They're not going to tolerate it. So you have a real challenge with engagement of candidates coming into the system and corporate infrastructure that exists today on the West Coast. And this is in the consumer products context, because you've got folks in, different companies and industries that don't have this challenge. But
Well, different
consumer
industries
products,
work differently
big
too,
problem.
though. But you know as well as I do, because you know all the same people I know. You think of all those guys that hung on to those jobs out here, those cushy, they weren't cushy, but they were cushy. Those cushy sales sort of jobs in CPG. And once they were gone, That was it. It wasn't going to, because they probably should have been. They were here, and the offices were way over there.
Oh yeah.
And the offices at that point, you said, "Well, we're not going to fill those positions anymore. That's it."
Well, but
Phil
I
from
think
Toronto can fly back and
that's
forth.
a
Good
very
enough.
West Coast thing, right? Because
We lost all the
every
head
time that
offices.
someone would transfer out to the West Coast, all of these big companies would go, now I'm telling you, 2 years, no more than 2 years, and then you're coming back, and they're like, sure, no problem, I'll be right back. Don't worry. 2 years, and then usually after the 2 years, like, nah, man, I'm here. Like, I ain't going. Like,
Why would you leave the West
my job.
Coast?
I'm ticking all the boxes. You want to try and kick me out?
Yeah.
More power
to
to
the West
you,
Coast.
Yeah.
You take a guy or girl out of university, they do their 2 years in Toronto, and then they ship them out to Vancouver and say, okay, you're going to be 2 years doing junior accounts with Save on Foods and London Drugs.
Right.
And then we're going to bring you back to the big boys, and you can call on whoever back east. And then they get out here and they're 25, 26. They move into kits. They got their sweet condo. They get a dog. They meet a girl or a guy on the beach. They got their Starbucks. And guess what?
In the hills.
I'm not moving back.
Exactly. Why would you go back? You're golfing in December in the morning. They go skiing in the afternoon. Sailing the next day.
Exactly.
So you layer Toronto for?
You layer that onto like just Safeway leaving Calgary, and you just got the stuff happening out here with the consolidation of the banners. There's it's a tough place to continue a career with one company. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do that.
Wow.
But even the differences in I'm trying to figure out how you even fill recruitment like that, because I think the other challenge you have is people from the back east. I mean, prices are not necessarily cheap in Toronto, but if you want to see expensive living with not the greatest pay, come to the West Coast.
That's for sure.
I mean, someone in Toronto is going to make probably 30% more than they're going to make out here, and they're probably going to pay a lot, but it's still 20-25% less than what they pay here.
Yeah. Well, we recruit into
now
the
you
States
try to fill
too.
those holes.
We recruit into the States too. So we have salary. Yeah, we have salary data for down south and salary data for back east. And so Vancouver's 20 to 30% below market in both of Washington State and in Toronto for the similar jobs. But we're 20 to 30% below. So US typically it's the same kind of salaries, but it's in US dollars.
Right.
So add 20% to whatever your salary is in US dollars and move to Washington.
Well, and then add a 50% house difference.
For sure. So we have incredibly high cost of living, and for whatever reason, this disparity in salaries and no jobs. So come and join the consumer product space, everybody. It's a great place to make a career.
Oh my God.
But it's got to make your job interesting, which is, wow. Shit, that's a challenge.
What are companies looking for these days? Like what kinds is it kind of all over? Or are there like a certain trend of jobs?
Or a trend of skill sets?
Yeah, or trend of skill sets might be an even better.
So to answer both those questions can be summarized in a couple key things. Anything related to digital marketing and e-commerce, and anything related to data management and insights and analytics, and anything related to getting products from the warehouse to the consumer in as cheap and a quick a way possible.
Right.
Those are the three things people need to know these days. The days of I have great relationships are long gone. If that's all you have no career left after whatever job you're in now. The technical skills required to be effective they've never been higher.
Has it gone that bad though on the relationship side? Like, I mean, I know I know the answer to that, but I'm curious to get a little more
relationships side. Yeah, relationships are table stakes. And I ask a question, hey, what makes you different from your competitive set in the market? What do you do differently? I have great relationships. I hear that all the time. And it's table stakes for people to have great relationships. If you don't have great relationships, you really shouldn't be in sales. That's just kind of a blanket rule.
That's base.
You have to have some other, you got to have some other intangibles that you can bring to the table that help solve problems. Like that's really what it comes down to is the amount of information everybody has getting thrown at them these days, and the amount of access to other people's pricing, and just the way to get products to people. To really truly be competitive, you have to understand how you can innovate and think a little bit differently to solve the problem for the consumer who's paying you for that product.
Right.
So if you're selling something that's a commodity, like my shave cream was back in the day, you can BOGO it to death, but you might have to compete with the same BOGO shipped from a warehouse that somebody's running in an e-commerce model. They can have it show up to their front door for marginally more money, if more money at all.
If more money at all. If more money.
Yeah. So how do you compete with that? And that's where relationships don't matter anymore. That's doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is if you can come in with a way to provide me something that I can bring to my customers that makes them want to purchase through me. So if that's a program or a way of doing
Right.
business that I haven't thought of before or something like that, that's where it gets interesting. And
Well,
that's
it's not
where
the
value
B2B
is.
relationship then anymore, it's the B2C. So you got to help that business have a better relationship with their customer, not so much you having a good relationship with your buyer or whoever the hell it is. I mean,
Exactly.
that's pretty much dead. So unless you can really bring that connection or help them understand how to talk to their consumer better, there's really not much for you, is there?
Nope, not much at all.
So that's changed quite a bit, really. I mean, it doesn't take that long ago, even up to 5-10 years ago, relationships were pretty important still.
Well,
Right?
and they're still
you got
important
into
today.
stuff to some degree. I understand what you're saying though, but you don't get in as much as you used to because you knew somebody or the relationship was there, right?
Right, exactly.
Right, I
And-
get it.
Yeah, the relationship doesn't propel the business transaction forward. It just greases the wheels to make sure that when the machine starts to work, there's no squeaks.
Right,
That's where it comes in.
right.
I like I like that change. I like the demand for digital. I'm a digital marketer, so I love that stuff, right? So I love that companies are starting to think about leveling up and getting those skills in play. It's nice to hear.
So what happens though? So what do you find, Trev? Do you find so if people in our age group, you being on the young side, me being a little less than
Less
the young
young.
side,
Less young.
Just trying to make it sound better than it is because we're a few years apart. But
Somebody
what
asked me if
happens?
you were 60 this week.
Fuck, really? What the fuck, man?
Somebody who
Seriously?
listens to this podcast asked me if you're 60. So when that somebody hears this,
Not really.
And
What's the matter with these people? Jesus.
You just keep
sorry, please continue.
you've got that the youth filter on your Zoom, so you look much,
man.
much younger. There's no way you're 60.
Yeah, I love you too. Whatever. I'm not listening to any of you anymore. What I was going to get at, smartasses, is if people are coming in that 50 to 55 range, where I would assume 10 years ago, without massive digital skills, but good relationship skills, they were probably placeable. What happens to this group now that has some digital skills, obviously because they have no choice, it's 2021, but they may not be as well versed in whatever you're talking about, like in terms of what digital aspects do they need to know, or how do they work that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and this is it's something that's definitely the baby boomers are affected by more than anyone else. The baby boomers had a real gift in terms of the career opportunities that they had put in front of them, and a lot of them were able to get jobs without degrees or any kind of supplemental education at all, and they went into their careers and they had great success. And some of them will continue to have great success because they've figured out ways to find out what they need to have on the road through their careers.
Right.
Folks who go in without any kind of lifelong learning plan or interest or ability to upscale their skill sets are really going to be hard pressed to find any meaningful work in the future, because it's just taking such a radical shift, and COVID has only exacerbated that whole thing. It's such a radical shift to the digital side of things.
Which is worrisome, because when you're talking baby boomer, if you're talking baby, that's 60 plus, right? Because I'm more what was it, Gen X? What are we? I was 1966. What am I, Gen X?
Yeah, Gen X.
Right?
Yeah,
Is that
I mean,
right,
when you're
Gen X?
talking baby
I'd
boomer,
say
like I'm on
Gen-
I'm on the
Your
beginning of
tail
Gen
end.
X, tail end of
Yeah.
baby boomer. But if you're saying baby boom, like what I would consider true baby boomers, some are sort of like 1960. But if you're 1960, 61, and you're in that situation, like you're in a freaking pickle.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of people I've talked to who've lost their jobs, and then they've ended up going into stuff that would not ever have fallen into their consideration of work previously, but
Right.
they have to. They have no choice. And I've seen more and more people's resumes showing up in my inbox that are older individuals who've built a career, in some cases 20, 25 years with one company, and they've moved up, and then they just get restructured out. And I look at their resume and I'm like, you're not remotely competitive with the candidates that are out there. And it's heartbreaking, frankly.
Like, what do you tell someone? That's wow, that's shitty.
I think that's part of, like, you and I talk about it on the show all the time, is you like, and Trevor, you talked about like having a learning plan, right? Is you gotta, I have a lot of, so I'm right in between the two of you. I'm 48 turning 49 this year. And I have a lot of friends that, have worked all sorts of places, but when we start talking about simple things, or what I guess I would consider simple, but simple things like using Google Suites instead of Excel and PowerPoint, or like switching around and using different browsers. And when I hear, they all know now not to say it around me, but they say it, right? It's like, oh, I'm not doing that. That's all new stuff, and I want to use what I use. And I always tell them, like, guys, that's your number one reason why you shouldn't, because that crap sneaks up on you, and then all of a sudden, it's not even trying. It's just, everyone switched and you're not switching. Now you have a problem, right? Like it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
No, that nails it for sure. And I do some recruiting in the tech space, and so that's all programmers and coders and things like that. And I'll pitch them on a job, and they'll look at me on the Zoom, and they'll point blank say, I don't want to do that because that's old technology. That's not current cutting edge stuff. I'm not interested. Okay, no problem. And so we'll go through and try and find the right person for that job too. But in that case, you have to find somebody who doesn't want to be leading edge, because those people, they definitely tend to, always be upskilling themselves to become the best at what they do. Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead, Phil. Go.
I was just going to say, programmers are those guys on the leading edge. They're crazy skills. When I was at Hubba, we had all these developers, and they were reading about switching from one language to another. And during, they call stand-up meetings scrums, right? And so we were in the middle of a scrum, like 15-minute scrum, and they said, okay, we're so everybody go home and read this, because we're going to switch languages, So, in my head, I'm like, okay, like a week or two, we'll start transitioning over. They come in the next day and they're like, okay, did everybody read it? Yeah, we're good. Okay, so we're switching. Like, they switch programming language. You're like, what the hell happened here? Yeah.
we want to talk about this. Like, should we just have a meeting again, or?
No. And but that's what they're like, right? Like our generation, you'd plan it out, you'd think it through, you kind of like implement. These guys, it's like it's like downloading an app on your phone, right? You literally you hit the app, you download it, you try it, and you either burn it or keep it, right? And then it only stays until it's not useful anymore, and then you chuck it, and then you download a new app and keep going, right? So it's the same sort of like learning style almost that happens now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. They're kind of like in the Matrix when they take that thing and shove it in their brain, and then all of a sudden they know how to fly a chopper. It's the same idea for the tech side. Yeah, they love that stuff, and that actually is like if you want a key takeaway for some of the candidates listening to this, is to make some kind of a plan so that you can continually be upskilling yourself, so that you're not relying on, how well Joe down the road. Like, you need to be able to provide value.
I'm trying to figure out though, I guess, Trevor, and I'll go back to because I know a lot of these people too. I know there's a lot of people sort of in that mid 50s and mid 60s that have been sort of transitioned out, if they didn't transition themselves out, which is probably the safer way to do it as opposed to waiting for somebody. But you're providing services to your clients, the people looking for recruitment. So you're going in, you're finding the right bodies, and you're teaching them how to get the most out of these people, et cetera, et cetera. Are you, and I get the revenue stream on that side. You're not getting much on the consultative side, but realistically, you've probably got a customer for the next 10 recruitments. So you guys will do fine. Nobody's going to miss a meal. Like, it makes total sense. That's just smart business, right? I mean, if you could monetize it, that'd be smarter, but I get it. I mean, that's just good business, right? That's solid business. That's what consultants should do. But what do you do when that person comes in and they're that 55 to 60 and they don't have, like, I mean, I'm assuming, because I know you're not that person. I'm assuming you're trying to help them, but what are you suggesting these people do? Because we may have listeners at that age too thinking, well, that's great. You just told me I'm pretty much freaking obsolete, but can I get out of obsolescence? Like, well, what are you suggesting to these people? I mean, take courses? Like what? What do you?
Yeah, well, courses are one option for sure. I call it the descending whys. So part of my commitment to lifelong learning and all the stuff like that is that I did my coaching certification. One of the reasons I did the coaching certification was specifically because of this scenario. I have so many people that I'm not able to help with the clients that I work with, but are in desperate need of help. So I can't save everybody from themselves, but I can certainly provide them some directions so that they can go out and set a plan in place for them to be able to overcome some of the adversity and hurdles that they might face. So part of that is this descending whys thing, and it's truly understanding why you're doing what you're doing in order to try and find out what it is you should be doing instead. So, people in their careers often find themselves by accident doing what they're doing. And I'm no exception. I'm a recruiter kind of by accident. I knew Bruce from way back and hired some people through him, and he placed me a few times. And then when I needed some help, he offered me a job, and it's been a fantastic match since. And I've kind of come into it, and it kind of worked out. But I look back on it and I realized that I wasn't really in control of most of my career. It kind of just happened, and it happened to work out, which is great. But if I were to go back and do it again, I'd probably be a lot more thoughtful about how I went about doing it and trying to understand what the motivations for the things that I do and have done really were. Right. And so the descending whys is just asking yourself repeatedly why something's important to you. So if you're trying to find a job and you're just endlessly running up against a stone wall of not being successful getting a job opportunity, it's sitting back and taking an introspective look at what it is that truly motivates you, and then trying to understand why you need to do something. So if you think of Simon Sinek, for example, his whole thing is starting with why. Mm-hmm. It's that principle, but distilled down to the individual basis. And then once you kind of get an understanding of what it is you truly love to do and want to do and are good at, then you can start to build a bit of a plan on how you can go and find companies that might value that, or skill sets that you can learn that'll help augment that, or people that you can network with that might introduce you to other people who could hire you to use that skill set.
Yeah. It's funny, such basic advice.
It is super basic, but no one ever stops to think about that.
Well, they get to the 10th interview and they don't understand why they're not hireable. And you look at it and will think, first of all, you're probably more massively qualified. Second, your approach, why would anybody have hired you?
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't even, it's almost like you didn't even want the job. Like you were there for a job, not even necessarily this job. Like that shows, right? I'm assuming you're telling people when you're
shows loud and clear.
That's going to come through loud and clear. You're just here because you need a paycheck. Well, that wasn't necessarily what I was looking for.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it immediately when people are just applying for a job because they're in a desperation situation. It's like when you go to a bank to get a loan, they don't give you the loan when you need the loan. They only give you the loan when you don't need it. Yeah, and so it's the same with the job. If you need the job, you're guaranteed not going to get it. And if you come in reeking of desperation, it's not going to work.
Happen. Mm-hmm.
And the frustration, just makes it worse, because then people start blasting out resumes with the wrong company name on it, and the cover letter is miswritten, or they just start
applying for jobs that aren't not even there's no relevance. I mean, you're not even going to get looked at, if any. And then it's a small industry, like on the West Coast. I mean, pretty soon people do start to talk. You get that, right? Yeah, I saw that. What the hell is this guy doing? Like, that's the last thing I'm assuming you need to in smaller communities, right?
Yep, exactly. Now, the caveat to that is that there's a job out there for everybody. They just have to figure out how to find it effectively, and to not get totally bogged down in the pits of despair that can come along when you're going through the job search process. And it is really tough.
That's tough.
So I hear the part about not being able to help everyone, and then I also hear, when you're trying to save people or get them to, kind of learn new skills, is there, trying to figure out, because I know what I'm going to ask, you're going to say, how am I supposed to answer that, right? Because it's such a broad stroke answer. I guess I'm wondering, is there a place to start? Like, so if someone realizes, let's say it's me, right? I'm in my late 40s. I've worked CPG most of my life, right? I have decent skills dated to the last 10 years, but the last 10 aren't skills, right? The last 10 is more management skills and not hard skills. Is there kind of like a common path that you recommend for folks like that? I feel like that's kind of our, that's within kind of the constituent that listens to this show, for example. But I know I'm asking you, like, what path do you go down? But is there kind of a common road or a way to think about this?
There's no one right answer for that. It's literally just understanding yourself and being in touch with what matters most to you, and then trying to find a way to make that bigger. I know when I was going through university and just kind of early life, there's always this attempt to try and make everybody well-rounded. And well-rounded,
Yeah.
just means everybody's kind of homogenous and the same.
Right.
So you got
Yeah.
skills in every area and you're kind of so-so at all of them.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid that whole mindset of thinking. And I prefer to look at it as everybody should try and become well lumpy. And what I mean by well lumpy is that there's going to be stuff you totally suck at and you should just try and avoid it in general and let somebody else do it. And then the stuff that you're really good at, you should try and, get really good at it. So if you
Right.
imagine our well-rounded ball, the really good stuff is the big lump and the stuff you're crappy at is the divots.
Like a divot.
So I try to think of things as being, how can you get well lumpy by taking the stuff you're good at and, amplifying it, making yourself better at it, and then ditching all the shit that you're not good at. Because
if you're not good at it, you're not good at it. Get someone else to do it.
You get somebody else to take care of that. Let them be good at it.
Yeah.
Let their lumps fill in.
We've always
deficits.
said that as entrepreneurs, that's one thing entrepreneurs need to learn more than anybody.
Yeah. But I think
the
the education system does a disservice because it teaches everybody to be average in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would get rid of that thinking to start with. And then the things that you want to create the lumps out of, you go and you chase those down and you make them the biggest lump that you can. And you become the expert in that one area. And your specialist knowledge in that space, you can direct it towards whatever challenges you face or your clients, or your potential employer faces.
Mhm.
And you bring that skill set to them so that you can be the best at it.
Now, just to take that, again, it's going to be one of those ones, but you got the well-rounded, like a true generalist is very difficult to do anything. A lump is not lumpy. A true specialist is pretty tough too, because now you pigeonhole. So when you say lumpy, you actually mean lumpy. If there's 3 or 4 out of, 10 skill sets you have, do well in the 3 or 4. You may not be an expert in each, but be better than a generalist, but you don't have to be ultra specialist necessarily. But have more than just the norm.
Yeah.
Right. So lump E is really the trick, not lump. Definitely not round.
Don't be a lump.
Don't be a lump. Think of that. And don't be just a round ball. Think of that.
Yeah.
Lumpy.
Be lumpy. Be lumpy. Yeah. Another way of thinking of it is the T. The HR literature talks about the T. So you have a broad experience set across the top, and then you got specialty area down the middle to make the T.
Right.
That would imply only having one lump, but
unless you have a fat T,
you want to kind of have an E kind of on its side. So three upward ones. There you go. You want to be an E, a lumpy E. We're making up our whole new language here.
You know what? This is trademarkable. This is a whole new trademarkable. This is a whole new level.
You heard it here first, folks.
Of consultative help. Tilted E's, slanted E's, fat T's, lump, lumpy, round. Come on.
This is not one of my lumps. I'm going to leave this to you and avoid as much of it as possible.
Hey, you're one of the lumps though, because you're lumpy too. You got lots of little lumpies all over. You're one of them.
I'm very lumpy. Yeah.
That's interesting though. I mean, I think sometimes that's what it is more than anything. I guess what it is when I think recruiter, not you, because that's why when I heard you were on another podcast, I thought, shit, that's a great guy to have on, because I know you and I know what you're like. And that's why I thought it'd be more cool. It's not recruiter, foamy, hey, I'll put a body in. I knew you guys did more cool shit. And I think that's what people need to think of when they're doing this. It's not specifically to fill a task. Think about it, man. What are you trying to do? Like, what do you want out of this person? Maybe this person is the next person to run the company. Like, hire right. Shit, you never know this person could go. Right? Yep. I mean, this could be like the hire.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. People often put a lot more time and thought and effort into the cars they're going to provide for their sales reps than they do for the long-term strategic plan for the people and the roles they need to fill. And there needs to be thought put to who you're going to have in your organization to make sure your organization is successful over the long time horizon.
See, and that's where Trevor comes in, Phil.
That's where Trevor comes in.
I like it.
So whenever
that's where my whole team does. Not just me. I'm just one of many. My whole team will.
Nah, we're only going to you. No. We don't care about the rest of the team. Who cares about the rest of the team? Forget it. No, just you.
You're too.
Not for me and Phil though, because we quite like our gigs. We don't want to work anymore, so we're totally on the different side of that.
Yeah. Well, no, but
that's not true too. Maybe if there's a gig here and there, that's okay.
But we are on the side where like we have clients that are still going to need to hire, right? And that is a real struggle. Like,
well, I'm already thinking the one we mutually shared. There's always stuff they're looking for, and I'm thinking, maybe I should have called Trevor on a few of these.
Yeah, because they hire a lot of these guys still hire by title, right? And you kind of go, what do you or everyone wants a unicorn, right? You kind of go, I don't understand. Like, one, you're not how do you tell a client they're not the most special business in the world, right? That everybody else has the same needs as you, right? Like, so everybody wants the same unicorn. Like, is that
our people are so different? No, not really.
No, like
no, kind of all this, kind of very much the same.
Yeah.
If I get candidate, people always say, I want a rock star X, whatever X is. And the X is the easy part to find. It's the rock star part that changes for every single client. And that's the other half of recruitment, is really understanding like what it is that makes an organization tick and how they conduct their business, and then connecting those people together so that there's a culture fit piece there. And
maybe make a rock star.
Sometimes you do. Like a recent story I can tell you is that I had a candidate who, amazing woman. She was from Paraguay. She was a Fulbright scholar, and she'd been in Vancouver for 2 years, and she spent a year on mat leave. She said she'd applied for 20 or 30 jobs, and no one had ever called her back except for me. And she ended up having to fly back to Paraguay for a family emergency. I introduced her to my client. They went through their whole interview process. She beat out people who were from industry and had been 5 or 6 years in industry doing the exact job. And she got the job because her personality was amazing. She's an amazing fit culturally, and she was a super intelligent lady. So she's never worked in consumer products before. And she's
so why was she getting called?
She wasn't getting called because she was from Paraguay, and she was resume doesn't make sense in the Vancouver context. People here are not necessarily open-minded to folks from outside with outside experience. They, if you've never heard of a Fulbright scholar, you aren't probably going to know what it is. And if you've never heard of XYZ company from New York, and you don't bother to look it up and take the time to understand what someone's about, you're just going to pass over that resume repeatedly because it's not the easy person to put into a job.
That's the sadder part. The New York one might have got the look. You say Paraguay, then you're not getting the look, which is the sad part.
Right. So it's very common. And I feel for new Canadians, because I talk to some amazing folks who've come into this country who have education that would blow other Canadians out of the water, and they get overlooked constantly because their resume shows them as having spent the last 15 years of their career somewhere else. And it's criminal. It's criminal.
It's too bad. So, you're losing out on a person who's got some diversity, some different ways to look at the world, different experiences, different everything, right? Now, it may not fit. I don't know, but at least look.
Well, in the culture fit piece, there could definitely be challenges on the culture fit part, like language, for example. They may not speak English well enough to function, but take a look. And that's, a good recruiter can find those unicorns and help people get introduced to them. And open-mindedness can change your entire business. But if you're not even willing to look past a job title or a company or an industry set, then you're going to have some challenges.
That's why you hire recruiters.
That's why you hire Trevor, not recruiters.
Look at the segue after segue after segue.
So I have a segue for you. I was trying to find something that I could bring into the conversation and show you, but I was having a conversation with my colleague down the hall who told me that for a birthday card for his kids, his buddy sent him a card, and inside the card was taped 2 things. And those 2 things, he pulled one out and he looked at it and he's kind of thought it was a bit of a joke. This is going back several years. Those 2 things were 2 actual real life Bitcoins. And I wanted to bring one in and show it to you because I know you collect coins. And I can't give it to you because these things have gone up to this coin. So a Bitcoin in general is like $68,000 US or whatever it is right now.
Yeah, but some stupid number.
So this is a legitimate Bitcoin that has the hologram in it, and it's got a typo on the back of the initial publishing of these coins. So this particular Bitcoin's worth like $100,000 today. And so no, well, maybe, but I think he wants to hang on to it. So he's got it in lockdown at a safety deposit box. Yeah. And I told him, I'm like, well, this is going to be on Zoom. Like, we're going to record it this way. And he's like, oh, I can't do it. It's too easy for someone to see the numbers on the coin and dupe them. And
they do whatever they do out there. You're right.
Yeah. Well, so I was going to bring this in and actually show it to you because I thought that'd be pretty fun.
Cool, man.
But he said no. But
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either, but I thought it was a cool story. So the reason why I brought it up though is because careers are kind of like coins. Sometimes you'll collect these coins and they may be valueless today, but they could grow into something super valuable tomorrow, and you just might not know it yet.
Right.
And it's so the people's careers, particularly like if they're new Canadians or they're new employee who's just graduated from university looking for their first job, they can turn into something that's worth a lot more today, even if they have a little wrinkle like a spelling mistake on the back of the coin. They might be worth more for that reason down the road.
You know what? Uniqueness is sometimes where the where the money lies, right? Absolutely. Yeah. But again, that's a good attitude. Wow. And that's again why you get people to help you do things, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Trevor, thank you for doing this.
Hey, my pleasure. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
That was good, man. I'm glad you came on. That was I feel bad that I should have just assumed. I should have just asked you. I don't know why I haven't bugged you over the last year or so, but anyway, well, I'm glad you came on.
Well, I'm a guy who kind of floats in the background a lot of the time. I don't necessarily get out in front, and that's by design. So I wasn't knocking on your door either.
No, that's true too. But I didn't expect you to. I think I should have knocked on yours. That was just a nice thing to do.
So if people want to find you, what's the best place to find you?
Best way to find me is just go online and check us out at www.macdonaldsearchgroup.com, Macdonald Search Group. And you can email me at trevor@macdonaldsearchgroup.com.
You can find you on LinkedIn too, I guess, if you're hunting on LinkedIn.
I'm always on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is I'm there all day, every day. So just hit me up there and I'm happy to connect.
That's fantastic. Cool. Yeah.
I'll another thing we didn't talk about I wanted to talk to him about was how the process went through COVID, et cetera. So maybe we'll have you on another time. Later this year once things calm down. I'm dying to see where this market goes in the next 6 months to 12 months.
Yeah.
Like we'll see where the economy goes and everything else. So maybe we'll have you back on to see.
Well, I'm really bullish on the economy. I can tell you just in a real quick snapshot of the last quarter. Since December was pretty good, but January 1 hit. And the way I see it, all of the consumer goods companies that don't have a food service division that dragged them down over the last year are sitting on really fat stacks of cash, and they haven't filled most of their jobs through 2020. So any job availability that they had has just been sitting there. So they need to spend some of that money, and they're reaching out. We've had more activity in the last few months than.
Oh, maybe we'll highlight that on this one.
Yeah, it's been busy. So this is the time. Yeah, no one's looking to move at the moment. That's the counterpoint, is that everybody's still a little reluctant to make a change because they're insecure with COVID and everything. But there's a lot of companies looking to hire.
That's interesting. That's good to
know.
Pretty
soon, we'll reach that inflection point where we'll have lots of individuals looking to get back to work.
Next time we see Trevor, his hair is going to be like all disheveled. Picture frames will be crooked. He's like, I haven't left the office in like 18 days. There's so much to do. It'll be something like that.
That's all good. Got to keep those kids in sports and everything else when they're allowed back in.
For whatever you want to call this, your sports. I'm not sure it really was. Practice. Keep them in practice.
Keeping them in practice. Same price as the sport.
Same price as the sport. Exactly. Yeah. No tournaments though this year, which was nice. But I'm looking forward to getting back to real life really bad.
Yeah,
I want to walk. I want to push my way through a crowd at the next Boxing Day sale at
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
or wherever.
We were talking this morning. I think we just want to hug a few friends.
That too. I was trying to keep it consumer products retail relevant, but
just to get back to people, man.
Yeah.
Just back to people.
Well, next time we do this, maybe we'll do it in real life.
Yeah.
That'd be okay too. Maybe Phil will be on a plane and come down. We'll do it at the coffee bar.
Yeah, baby. You got it. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Over a plate of pasta.
That'd be awesome.
Kenny's like, wait, and you're never leaving. Like, you just got here. Like, no. I said I'd come for a little bit. I'm never leaving.
That's not true. Unless you're bringing the whole fam with you, you're going back.
Trevor, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks,
buddy. Really appreciate it, man. Seriously, that was good. Phil, stick around for a bit, but Trev, thanks. And we will have you back. I'm curious to see how things go in the next meeting for fall.
Sure.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, take care, buddy boy.
Take care, Trevor.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Ciao.
He's
interesting,
great.
Eh? Yeah. Well, it's just sometimes, and I know people think a lot of those things, right? But I think even, I think I'm surprised it's funny that they aren't able to monetize the back end services, because to me, the consultative side is really valuable. Instead of just putting a body into a seat, they take the time to actually, is this the right body for the right seat for the right time? Will this person grow into blah, 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 as best you can? I mean, you never know. People are people, right? But interesting.
I think that I guess it depends on what they want to do, but I agree with you. They could monetize it, but it kind of takes them. It's complementary, but it takes them down a weird path too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it, if it becomes its own revenue model, I don't know how. Not that it's
I
not
don't know either.
genuine, but it's I don't.
It's
know
not
if
the
this
same.
is- yeah,
This
yeah.
is done for the right reasons, and
yeah.
I think I agree with you. And I think that's where it becomes really and truly much more valuable, because I know that you're doing this for. I know you're doing this because you're hoping I'm going to come back 12 times, and that's fine. That's business, and I'm all good with that. But I also know that you give a shit, and I'm going to end up with the best possible placement. So I mean, if other firms aren't doing that, not that we want to have Trevor's thing copied, but really, it's like a real estate agent, man. If all you're going to do is show me the house after I pick the house,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of you? If I need to do paperwork, I'd rather just do it myself, get a notary to sign off. What the hell pay you for?
Yeah, that's true.
Provide the service.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, it's interesting. It was good.
Yeah, it's
Very
pretty
good.
cool. I realized halfway through this that I also know Trevor.
I'm sure
because
you
he
do.
called on me for a little bit
Probably when you were at Target.
when I was at Target for the Roche stuff.
On Roche,
for the diabetes stuff.
It's been around a long time, right? Like seriously, it's
Yeah.
been around. I mean, I did. I think I knew him from the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool how
Nice
our
guy.
paths go in and out.
Funny, eh? Small industry, right? And really, he moved to lift, and he's still back into it. You never leave.
You can check out anytime you like. You can never
Exactly. It's the Hotel California. Hotel CPG.
Hotels.
That's really pathetic and sad on a whole bunch of levels. That's okay. We'll just leave that one alone. That's all good. We'll just say Phil said that.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks.
Okay, my friend. I got to
Yeah.
get on to a call with Australia pretty quick here, so it's
Chop, chop.
time to
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Take care, buddy.
Okay, we'll chat with you soon. I'm sure we'll chat with you before this weekend. I seem to have been talking to you every freaking day this week anyway, so
Yeah, you got it.
all good. Take
All
care,
right.
man.
See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.